Bonjour, je suis not manly, ici le voyage d'espace, je ne sais quoi. Hello, not manly here. Welcome back to the Je ne sais quoi system, where we're going to do an exploration mission. We're going to try to visit every body in the Je ne sais quoi system, one body per episode. Now that the Je ne sais quoi space race is over, at least for this season, I'm going to make an attempt to just take a look around. After all, some folks over in the Je ne sais quoi thread are complaining that no one bothers exploring past Duna, or no one bothers exploring past Jewel. There is a whole treasure trove of eye candy out there, as demonstrated in these screenshots from the Galileo team. So what we're going to try to do is expose some of this eye candy for your viewing pleasure. That was Lindor over there, for instance. This looks like Minmus. There we go. And they finally finish up with a parachute landing on Tylo. Yes, Tylo has an atmosphere in this system. We'll be able to explore that. So, exploration of the Je ne sais quoi system. It's a science mode playthrough, and we're going to try to do one celestial body per episode, starting today with Kerbin. Okay, we've got Je ne sais quoi 0.8.6, which was current as of about 2 weeks ago. I've got much the same settings as for the Je ne sais quoi space race, some adjustments for this version of Je ne sais quoi, and many of the same part add-ons. But I'm not going to use Kerbal Construction Time. After all, we're in a science mode playthrough. There's no point in using Kerbal Construction Time to impose artificial limits on us. We are going to keep the same assistance mods though: Kerbal Alarm Clock, Transfer Window Planner, Kerbal Engineer, and Ferrum Aerospace. Let's see what else we got. And then we've got the eye candy, which is what you're here for. We're going to show off the system in all of its glory. Now, just like before, we're starting off with only one science instrument and a few Kerbal Engineer parts. We've only got the 2 hot thermometers, so we have to go and scrape science from as many places as we can here. With this, well, with the Probodobadine Stay Putnik, which is going to stay Putnik throughout this series. We're going to be using it once. Okay, 6 times. But that is it. We're going to be done with the Stay Putnik after this, because we're going to unlock Early Aviation, which will give us the Mark I inline cockpit, and that will let us send Kerbals out to do crew reports and surface samples and various other things for us. There we go, just the basics. And so we get a little more science because we picked up the press mat barometer. Now we've got a little more. We've got gizmos, which will give us the mystery goo containment unit. And we have enough to unlock that Mark I inline cockpit. So we're going to go out to all those places again and gather some science from the mystery goo. And we got 4 mystery goos. We're not going anywhere. All we want to do is activate them, gather science, and come back home. And you know what? I've got the DLCs here. Let's get to all those sites and get all the different crew and EVA reports. There you go. Werner von Kerman is very happy with me today. Now we have enough to get gadgets, which will get us the experiment storage unit and the science junior. Now we can do our science gathering in earnest. Okay. Only got a little bit left. There we go. Survivability? Yeah, good idea. We want to be able to bring our folks back home safe. We build a small rover and we gather a few things out in the surrounding launch pads and runways and stuff. Nothing serious. Just bits and bobs here and there, especially with Bob, because we sent him out there. No point in filming all that. You're just going to see some boring stuff. But hey, we'll gather a little more science here. We'll gather a little more science there. Unlock a few more parts here and there and everywhere. There we go. There we go. The Probodobadine Octo. With that, we can finally launch our first probes into space. And that Thud liquid fuel engine, which served us well before, is going to get us up into orbit on the first actual launch. And there we go. Lots of hammer solid rocket boosters, cranking this thing as far eastward as I can until aerodynamics says, nope, that's enough. And then I let gravity do the turn for me here, gravity turn. Lots of solid boosters, because the only real powerful liquid fuel engine we have are those Thuds. So just like last time, we are going to try to get up into low space. We're going to take a reading. We're going to get up into high space. We're going to take some readings. We're actually going to end up launching this particular craft twice so that we can get 2 readings both in the low space and high space. And I end up doing a smaller version of this craft to get low atmosphere and upper atmosphere science as well. We're just going to show you this one launch though. If it looks familiar, that's because we used a very similar design back in the space race. Only now we just have one experiment storage unit. We're not going to bring back multiple copies this time. We saw what happened when we got over-ambitious with multiple mystery goos and multiple science juniors last time. Let's just take our time. It's a science playthrough. We're not going to be costing funds to do this. There we go. We'll set apoapsis all the way up to 800 kilometers, which is where high space begins. This craft has just enough delta V to close orbit and get to high space, and then return safely. Just like last time again, I'm going with those Twitch side-mounted engines there. They seem to do the job well. Okay, we are almost on our way to high space. Come on, now we're on our way to high space. 800 kilometers apoapsis. Let's take a look at some of this eye candy. Get to see a gorgeous Kerbin sunrise. There we go. I had to slow the footage down because I wasn't paying attention. But there we go, we at least got to see that. Almost at high space. Look at that, we are now in high space. Yeah, keep. Because we have that experiment storage unit, we can keep. We don't need to worry about trying to transmit it and lower our value for this trip. Okay, I found periapsis of about 50 kilometers was safe for this probe. It's a pretty light probe, so it didn't need a lot. Just like last time, I also had those parachutes automatically activated in case we lost signal or lost control. I did find that we were tipping over a little bit, and we lost those antennas, of course. It took quite a ways before we could let SAS go and let aerodynamics do the job. It was right around here that I was finally able to let the craft settle out. As long as those angles don't exceed 1 degree, this probe should be pretty safe. And a gorgeous streaking fireworks show from all those bits and pieces. Look at that. And yes, we do have the re-entry particle effect add-on turned on here. Now, something I forgot when I put this installation of KSP together was that I left the city lights installed. Kerbin to me seems strange, with things just plastered onto the terrain to look like cities or small towns. I know Kerbals are supposed to actually live in places, but this just didn't seem right with me. I mean, they're flat. You could land on top of that and not see anything, plus you might see trees sticking out in the building. So, after I completed this mission, I exited and I took away the city lights DLL, and I took away the shadows DLL as well, because Scatterer does shadows as well. So there was no point in doing shadows in both Scatterer and environmental visual enhancements, so I got rid of those 2 plugins. Here comes our first probe, getting ready to land, but in what appears to be populated territory. Yeah, exactly. That's just absurd. So I took those plugins out. And our high space probe is coming down to land safe. Touchdown! We have returned from orbit, and we brought back 165 science. Not bad at all. Enough to unlock the first command pods. The first real command pods. I am not going down the Soviet track. Those cue balls are just not safe for me. After another mission up, we get a little bit more science back by taking extra readings, so we get to unlock some more parts. We unlock some more aviation parts, unlock some more rings. Okay, and with those taken care of, we can now send up Chris Kerman. I had to roll this thing considerably far because it had an interesting bit of a tilt to it. So I thought I'd just rotate the craft so it pointed eastward on me. I still had to point up a little bit at some point because I just didn't have enough control. But once I got those thuds going, it was a lot easier going to fly this craft. Just like that. So Chris here is going to do the same trip that probe just did. He's going to go to low space, take some EVA reports over different biomes, then he's going to go to high space and get a crew and EVA report at high space. Then we'll get our first real glimpse at some distance eye candy for Kerbin. We've been doing all of our launches at night because this game starts just at sunset. So we need to wait 6 hours of game time before we can send a rover out all over the Kerbal Space Center to gather signs at all the different biomes. So in the meantime, we'll just go to space. Hey, spend some time up in space. There we go. Chris is closing his orbit, and then he's going to go to high space. I nose up a little bit just to keep Apoapsis ahead of us. And a little more. There we go. There we go. 85 kilometers. We are in a stable, if pretty low orbit. And then we start farming EVA reports. Lots and lots of EVA reports. We have Kerbal Engineer installed, and since we're in a science playthrough, we already have a level 3 tracking station, so we don't need to attach any Kerbal Engineer modules to these parts. But we can send up Chris and do this stuff. Here we get a good close look at one of those gorgeous Kerbin sunrises. Scatterer, what are we doing over there? I can see the reflection off the water, but why does the sun not shine? If you didn't know better, you'd say that was just another really bright star up in space, but nope, that's the sun. It gets high enough up through the atmosphere and it will finally shine through. I have Jade of Mars sun flare installed, which is part of JNSQ, and it's in scatterer mode right now, so it fades in and out with scatterer rather than the Unity sun flare. Same kind of thing happens in reverse as well for a sunset. We'll take a look at this, and I almost missed my Highlands biome while I was doing that. And I almost missed the mountains. But look at that, that's just strange. Hopefully we can get the scatterer folks to fix that. When you're up higher, it seems to work a little better because there's less of a boundary as such. You still notice it, but it looks a little better at least. Here we go, we are up in high space. We're going to get Chris out here to, come on, hit that EVA button, there we go. Get a high space EVA report. And then we will lower our periapsis to, just like we've been doing before, about 37 kilometers to re-enter safely without doing too many G-forces or hitting too much dynamic pressure. It seemed to work coming back from Minmus, it seemed to work coming back from the moon, so we'll do it from high space. Look at that. Look at the cloud work. The Galileo team went nuts on this version of JNSQ, and they've added some lovely storms. Look at that hurricane coming up there. I don't know if I want to be caught in that if this wasn't a game. Look at all the clouds. And these are pretty evenly spread all over Kerbin, and they're pretty thick in spots too. Kind of reminded me of the early versions of stock visual enhancements where you had really thick clouds up by the mountains. I grab a quick EVA report in the upper atmosphere just to snag a little extra science, and then I get Chris back into that pod. Toot sweet. There we go, Chris doing Mach 12 on re-entry. I don't lose signal here, oddly. I don't lose signal until about 35 kilometers up, but I do lose some signal. Which is interesting, because I was expecting it to be a lot worse. It was worse back in the space race. Something different must have happened here. It might be the DSN modifier that's different, I don't know. In any case, it looks like we'll have an easier time bringing probes back. If that's the case. There we go, we lost signal. And when do we get signal back? Right about now, apparently, just under Mach 3. Look at that. The gorgeous Western Sea. Exactly as I remembered it from the space race. A lot thicker clouds, though. Isn't that just beautiful? There we go. Want to go for a swim there, Chris? Well, he doesn't want to get an EVA report, though. I mean, science mode playthrough, you still want to try to gather as much science as you can. Splashdown! And there we go, surface samples. We already got this, it looked like, so let's bring them back. Oh, 142 science, that's pretty good. Enough to unlock another tier 5 node. Let's see, what do we end up unlocking? Ah, here we go, heavy rocketry. Finally! The swivel and reliant liquid fuel engines. We're gonna need those to go to Minmus. In the meantime, we've set Valentina on a polar orbit to gather a few biomes that Chris had missed. Also, to show off some additional eye candy, this is where Kerbin gets really awesome. I've said it before, Kerbin is awesome because, well, Duna's too cold and Eve is too hot and everywhere else is too far away. So this is all we got. We're gonna get some nice pan-in shots. The camera does some lovely things up at the poles, so we're just going to let the camera do its thing. Look at those auroras, look at the light terminator and those clouds. It's just gorgeous. Wow. If you like what the Galileo team has done, go to the JNSQ thread. There is a link to their Patreon right there. Give them some coffee money or something. They do this for free. They do this with no expectations to get paid, no expectations to get anything from Squad or from Take-Two or from whoever they call themselves this week. So hey, give them a little something. Look at that. Those auroras glow, I understand too, so even on the dark side they should light up. Here's a beautiful pass over the South Pole. I'm pretty sure this is the South Pole because we launched southward. Beautiful. Or maybe I should say beauty. There we go. This is the North Pole, I think. Yeah. There's that sun flare from Jade of Mar again. Absolutely beautiful. Here comes another gorgeous Kerbin sunset. I think. Yeah, look at those auroras glow. And there goes the sun. But it's time for Valentina to come back because daytime has hit the Kerbal Space Center and it's time to finally do the science dance over all of the buildings of the Space Center. But before we do, we'll do one more gorgeous camera pass above what I think is the South Pole. As we end up bringing Valentina down here, I mentioned that the poles are not these flat ice sheets. We're going to take a proper look here. That looks like some pretty rough terrain down there, and that's supposed to be ice. My goodness. Touchdown. Whoop, look out, Val. Get that pod sorted out. There we go. We'll keep it still there. I bring up the temperature set from Kerbal Engineer. It's down to about 264 Kelvin, which is about minus 10 C. So it's pretty cold down there. And there we go. Brr, it's minus 10 down here, eh? Beauty. And there we go. You know, we just had her bring back a surface sample, but we'll recover the actual craft and bring back an extra 38 science. Enough to unlock one more node. After that, and after a whole hour of visiting every single building at the Space Center with every piece of science kit, we send Roberta Lynn Kerman out there, touching every building, scraping science from every building, and well, just look at the number of reports you'll see in a bit. Look at that, almost 200 reports there alone. We gathered 970 science. We strip-mined the Space Center. And Roberta gets 1 XP for all of that. We have enough science now with all that silliness to unlock the whole rest of the Tier 5 part of the tech tree. There we go, we're just down to those advanced construction, and we get everything else, and wings. That's it! Tier 5 is finished. That should be more than enough to get to Minmus in the next episode. There we go. We're not going to go down the Soviet track, but until we get to Minmus, well, until then, I'm not Manly. Fly safe.